Welcome to Sunday Wellness by Policybazaar and a happy yoga day. My name is Mini Shastri. In today's topic, Yoga for Posture, we will work through the wonderful and an important tool of posture, of the muscles that hold us up. As we know, the posture affects the quality of our breath, the depth of our breath. The depth of our breath also affects our mind on all our systems. Posture also alters our moods, the quality of our thoughts, and the organs in our upper chest and our upper torso, your respiratory and your digestive system. We will work with the muscles of the upper body, especially the shoulders, the muscles of our spinal column that holds the nervous system in it. We will work with the alignment of the neck above the heart in line with the spine so that we don't collapse into our front chest and collapse all the vital organs and circulatory systems in the front body. We will learn how to hold ourselves upright softly with our own strength so that we have space for one of the most important muscles for our breathing, our respiratory system, the most important muscle of all, which is our diaphragm muscle, just below the lungs and above the heart. Another very important muscle that we want our posture muscles to help are the intercostal muscles, the muscles in between the rib cage that allows for good expansion in the lungs and good contraction in the lungs. We will also work with posture to understand how, when we create space for the organ of the heart and the lungs, how that affects our overall oxygenation, our mental clarity, our mental calm, and also our focus. So we can start seated straight away. I want you to look for a tool such as this, a cushion that will give a little lift below the hips. I would also like for you to keep a chair handy, and you can pause my video now to keep these two things ready. What may be also helpful is to have a thin blanket below the knees if your knees are sensitive, because we will also do something involving knees on the floor if your knees are sensitive. So a thin blanket. So get these three things ready. Something to lift and sit up with, a chair and a blanket. And I'll see you straight away. To begin, place a semi-hard seat below the tailbone only, so that your knees are not above your hips, because if your knees are above your hips, it is difficult to lift the torso, to lift the spine. So see that your hip is higher than your knees. Have a wide base in the knees, so your base will give you stability for your upper torso. Hold yourself most comfortably up, no need to be rigid or stiff. I like for you to use the base just like the base of a pyramid. Feel the settling action of waist below and the lifting action of the waist and above. So you have grounding through the legs, through the contact points of your hips, and you have space and height all the way up to the crown of your head. Release your shoulders. Let the weight of your arms be heavy on your knees. Any way you can place your hands down or up. And see that your head is above the heart. So you push your head slightly back, and now the head is in line with the heart and spine. One more important instruction would be to keep your chin level with the floor. This will give a little length in the back of your neck. The neck, as we know, is a bridge between the brain and the rest of the body, and you don't want to overarch your neck and have your chin go forward. Start with creating a slight lowering of the level of the chin and the lifting of the crown of the head. This is a powerful shape of a pyramid. So resemble a pyramid, and then settle into your natural breath. Feel the rib cage open and close to hold the lungs within it, to hold the expansion and the contraction of the lungs within it. Also feel the movement in the abdomen. This is your natural breath. The diaphragm is pushing down and pushing up into the lungs to optimize the breathing, because maximum oxygenation happens in the lower lobes of the lung. So you don't want your ribs to collapse into your stomach. Another way of starting out understanding posture is 2 fingers of your right hand, the first 2 fingers of your left hand. Place the right hand fingers on the sternum. This is the bone in front of your heart, and the other on your navel, and try and increase the space. Add some centimeters between these 2 points. So instead of shortening this distance, see how it feels to increase the distance between these 2 points. This is your sternum and this is your navel. So increase the length between the 2 points. Keep that length, hold on to that length, find the strength that keeps you up, and then release your hands. We will come back to this posture at the end of the pose, end of our asana structure. Starting with coming onto your hands and knees, fingers open, wrists below the shoulders, and knees below the hips. You round your back and you spread between the shoulder blades. You use your hands and push back to stretch your lower back, spine, armpit, shoulders. Place your right hand on your waist and look to the right. Come up and swim your arm up, forward like you were swimming in water, and take a full circle with your shoulders. Drop your hands where it was and push your hips back. And then we do the same thing on the left side. Left hand to the left waist, look to the left, start to come forward. Then take your left arm up, circle your left arm forward, drag your hand back to its original place and push your hips back. We'll do it one more time. Right hand to the waist, look to the right arm up above your shoulders, right arm forward, take a full circle with your shoulder blades. Draw your hand back, push the hips back, release tension in your lower back and neck and head. Last time, left side, left hand to the waist, turn your torso to the left, start to stack your left arm above the right arm, circle your left arm forward, and empty the breath as you push your hips back into this lovely, relaxing, lengthening stretch. Release the weight of your head. Come back to your hands and knees. Press into your palms. Feel the circumference of the palms and draw your right knee in. Exhaling, spread your upper back, spread between the shoulder blades. See, my right toe is still on the mat. Extend your right leg, push into the right leg and keep your right toe down. Lengthen in your neck, push the shoulders away from the ears. Drop your knee next to the other knee. Bring your left knee in now. Exhale, please. Take a few breaths here while you're still in this posture. Press into your palms and extend that left leg behind you firmly. Push into your palms so you can round your upper back slightly and lengthen your neck. Drop your knee down. And once again push back into this relax. And this time, when you come onto your hands and knees, you extend your right leg firmly. The muscle of the lower back, the muscle of the buttocks also are helpful in keeping our posture muscle in the back body. Now tap your toe that was lifted and turn your inner foot in Take your right hand on the waist so you look like this. I'm going to show you again. You're on your hands and knees, your right leg is extended, your right toe taps, you come to the inside arch of your extended leg, and you take your right hand and you look like this. Now, use the muscle of the shoulder blade of the lower hand to push down into the floor. So if you don't use the shoulder blade, you could look like this. I'd like you to instead activate the muscle of the shoulder blade of the left hand, which is on the mat. This top hand will give us elasticity and stretch to the rib cage muscle. First, take the top arm and extend it. So now your one arm is above the other. Now bring the top arm next to the temple. The whole time your left shoulder blade is active. Extend from the wrist of the top arm through the rib cage, through the waist, to the foot that is extended. Stretch in this beautiful stretch of Vaishishthasana modified. Bring your hand to the waist and do the same thing on the other side, hands and knees. So I'm going to turn around to show you that angle. This time you extend your left leg. Extend your neck, push back the shoulders. Tap the toe of the extended leg. Come into the inside arch of your extended foot. Bring your left hand and place it to the waist so you look like this. So let this be your starting point. Activate the shoulder blade muscle of the hand on the floor. Feel the upper back muscle because you're pushing down into the palm. Start with one arm over the other. Lots of space and opening in the chest. Then a little more lengthening in the rib cage muscle. Now the waist, and then extend that arm over the cheek like this and take 2 to 3 breaths. See that your neck is not hanging. If it hangs, you may be resting your neck muscle. This gives an opportunity for your neck muscles to work. Bring the top hand to your waist. If your neck is tired, just pivot your head on the central axis of the neck to look down at your thumb below you. This will also help strengthen the neck. Now look in front. Twist your neck on that central axis. Now look over the top shoulder. This is an inhale. Look down on an exhalation. This is a great way to strengthen your neck muscle as well. Come back to your hands and knees. I'll come back to that original side I was on. I'd like you to now take your left hand, come back to the starting position of hands and knees. Take the left hand and string it underneath the arm, resting your left temple, and your hips are high up in the air. I'll show you again. If you have stiffness in your shoulder and your temple is not resting, keep that block handy between your hands. Once again, I string this arm underneath and I rest my temple on this height. This will also give you a lot of relaxation in the neck, and at the same time stretch the back muscle of your arm. Come back and do the same thing the other side. Spend a breath or two here, whatever feels more relaxing, and come back. Stand on your knees now. I want you to also experience the relation between the muscle of your feet and your lower back. So I want you to turn your toes under and sit on your heels like this. This is the cushion underneath your feet called the plantar's fascia. And I want you to stretch that muscle like this. The heel is just below the sit bone and it's keeping your spine upright. Then we stand on the knee like this, and if you have sensitive knees, keep a dari or something like a folded blanket below the knees. That might also make it a little bit more comfortable for you. Standing with your toes turned under or away, both are fine. Interlace your hands above you and lift your ribcage off the hips so there is more length in the waist. Ensure that your ribcage is not forward like this. You softly bring it in so you keep the natural curvature of the spine. You raise your arms up to the wrist, to the top head of your wrist like this, and bring your hands behind your head with your elbows wide. And you see how I'm spreading my shoulder blades now, as though I had wings on my upper back and I'm spreading those wings. Again, raise your arms up, inhale, fill up your lungs, and empty as you drop your hands. With your toes turned under in that same original position, you sit down on your heels. You stand on your knees, take your arms up, inhale, fill up your lungs. You sit on your heels, drop your hands, empty the breath. Now you raise your arms up, turn your toes away. I'm going to stretch your ankle. And then take your hips towards your ankles, forehead to the floor, hands extended. Come back to this Balasana Child's pose. Stand on your knees, inhale, fill up your lungs, fill up your lungs, fill up your lungs. Point your toes away and see if you can sit in Vajrasana. Take one hand behind you, then the other hand behind you. If you're unable to touch your hand back, you can have a little height behind you like this. Or without the height, you can be on your fingertips. Push into your fingertips. See if you want to raise your hips, but continue to look forward. Drop your hips. Stand on your knees. From here, fill up your lungs. Bring your hands to your waist and take a big lunge through your right leg, nice 3 feet wide. Place your hands on either side of your foot. If you have tightness in the hip socket, it's difficult to sit upright. You can point the toe back. I like for people to feel more relaxed and circulation in their ankles, so you turn your toe away and look in front. Bring your hands to your knees. Hopefully your knees are on something soft so it doesn't hurt. Then your hands to your waist and see how I open my sternum muscles and feel more space in the organ of the heart and lungs. You're welcome to raise your arms above you like this, interlace your fingers and keep pushing your heel down, the front heel down, so you feel stable. Do a counter stretch by dropping your hands back and looking at your toe. Push back with your heel, come back to the original starting position. Standing on your knee, take a wide lunge through the left foot. Bring your hands on either side of your foot. Point the toe back if you like. Walk your hands up to the knee. Place your hands on your lower back to open your chest and heart and sternum. Raise one arm if you have a lower back problem. Raise both arms if you do not have a lower back problem. If you don't feel stable or if you feel like the knee is hurting too much, put the action of pressing down into your front heel. Feel the opening in your hip, the frontal hip here, the hip extension, and then do a counter pose by bringing your hand down and looking at your toe. And come back to standing on your knees. On your knees with some soft support below the knees, you take your right knee out like this. So you're facing forward, you're oriented forward, but just your right hip socket is opening here. Alright? Do not turn towards your right knee. The knee points where your middle toe of your right foot is pointing inshore. Work on opening this hip from here. The hip socket, once it's tight, affects our posture. It affects the lower back health as well. And extend that right arm. Now my right knee is out, my right arm is out. up, and I want you to keep a block on the instep of your foot. Place your right hand on that block, open the left rib cage like we did in Veshishtasana, and extend that arm out. So now you're feeling a little opening in that hip. If you feel this is too much for you to reach down, put 2 blocks or increase the height of the support below your hand. Try again. And again, 2 to 3 breaths to ease into opening that hip so you don't force your hip to open. Ensure that your lower knee is just below the left hip. Okay? Come back on your knee. Same thing left side. Turn your left knee out, creating a beautiful external rotation of the hip, and take your left arm up. Reach with the left arm, drop down into the right knee. Reach with your left hand to the instep of your left foot and roll open the top rib cage. Just a simple thing to work on all the angles of the hip that the hip can take, giving freedom to the lower back and the spine. Start with extending the arm one away from the other. Work with bringing the arm slowly above your cheek, above your temple. Instead of folding forward, try and continue to face forward like this, and again a few breaths. And then come back to your hands and knees. Coming to another lovely stretch to lengthen the back and create space between the vertebrae. You come on your hands and knees and take your hips up in the air. First, initially, maybe your heels don't touch. So instead of rounding the back and keeping your heels down, why don't we try raising the heels, softening at the knees, and lengthening the vertebrae, the space between the vertebrae in the spine. And the chin, neck is relaxed. The shoulder blades are wide. Now push nicely through your palms, activate the arms, and you can start to drop one heel at a time. Tight hamstrings eventually affect the health of our lower back and the spinal column. Tight hamstrings also don't allow us to walk freely. Right heel down, left heel down. Both heels up, both heels down without compromising the length in the spine. Both heels up, both heels down. And take a break, dropping down to your knees. You can do this exercise 3 times. Come back to Adha Mukha Shvanasana, downward facing dog, 3 times like this. We did once together. The next one, we will work with the muscles of the spinal column. So take a little cushion that you have, or if you have a dohar or a blanket, and just turn the dohar into like a long cylindrical shape like this, and bring just the base of your rib cage on it. So you have a little support, not below your navel, but below your lower rib cage. See that your heels are not falling outwards. Come on your forearm like this. Press your forearm are parallel to each other, and the elbow is just below the shoulders. Work on opening the clavicle, the collarbone muscle. Try not to arch the neck or pinch the neck too much. Just let the skin of your upper back melt down and the neck stay long in its arch. Press down and arch, breathe. Spread your elbows, and bring your forehead on your hands. Now try another exercise for the spinal column muscle. Interlace your hand behind you. Push into that folded accessory you have below the rib cage and reach back, opening the upper body, and take a few breaths here. Stay lifted with your own strength and do not hold the breath. And let's do a counter pose. Place your hand below your shoulders and take your hips to your heels. Once again, child's pose, to take any collected tension out. Standing on your knees, we will now go into an important asana for the health of our hip and our spinal column. For good posture, you could use one block or two blocks, or if you have books at home, you could stack some books and see if you can sit in malasana like this, using your elbows to widen the knees and slightly dropping the chin. You could also remove the height and come a little lower if possible. If your heels do not touch down, then I suggest you keep the block below the hip like this. If your heels can comfortably touch down, maybe you do not need either of this height. Press into your feet. Make sure your heels are not up. You have to be stable first. Bringing the stability and flexibility to the hip will free the spine. So do malasana every day. Make sure you exhale right down to the pit of your tailbone. Inhale up to the lungs, exhale down. And sit down on your hips like this. And bring your feet parallel to each other, not very close to you, but slightly away. Hold your shin, and instead of collapsing your ribcage into the stomach, see that you are slightly diagonal, but you're tall, you're long. Wrap your left forearm around the knees. My knees are slightly separate from each other. Grab the outside of your knee and twist the organs of your torso to the right. Use the hand behind you so you don't collapse backwards. Use the hand behind you to push and exhale and twist. You have to twist your middle back first. Once you are comfortable with twisting your middle back, only then twist in your neck. Try not to initiate this stretch, this twist with the neck only. Work on your upper back. Then come back, place your hands on your knees, and now let's get some strength on our shoulders. Take your arms in front, open your arms out, roll your shoulders, place your hands in such a way behind you that the fingers point towards your feet. Press into your heels and your palms, my fingers are open. Evenly distribute the weight and raise the hips. Please make sure that your head is not thrown back. My chin is resting on my collarbone. And then I raise my hips one last time by pressing into the heels. And do the same thing again to the other side, like this. Next, we straighten only the left leg, but we keep the right knee bent. Hold the knee and see again that you do not collapse into the front body. There is a lift. Grab with the opposite hand. So here's the right knee and the left hand. Grab with that hand and twist to the right. Take a few breaths here. Ensure that the straight leg is firm and the lower body is giving you stability so that you can twist in your upper body. Take a few exhales here. And then come back. Switch sides, keeping the straight leg firm, holding the knee, keeping your spine diagonal and long, and you twist with the opposite hand around the knee. And then you can come back and once again strengthen and open the collarbone with this four-legged pose. Raise your hips. This time push down into your heels and lift your hips one last time. And then drop your hips. Lovely. You could also straighten the left leg, put some strength into your arms, push into the heel, and then lift up. And come down. We will now require a chair, so we can do Surya Namaskars using a chair. This will help you strengthen, lengthen your hamstring. open your body in the front. We'll do some back bends, and we'll also stretch the lower back, but using a chair, so we can take everyone along. And this time we will repeat the Surya Namaskar using a lunge. Empty the breath, hands in front of your heart. Raise your arms, inhale. Lengthen by pushing your heels down, and take a forward bend on an exhale, hips back, hands to the edge of the seat of the chair. Move forward. Bring your hips in alignment with the heel and the head, but do not collapse. Just look like it was straight line from the head to the heel. Push down into your arms. This will help you strengthen your upper chest and your upper back muscle. Push the shoulders away from the ears. Your neck is long. And then use your toes to go into an arch. You have to push your hands down and arch your spine. Do not throw your neck back. Bend your knees, take your hips back. Lunging the right foot forward in between the two legs of the chair. Back foot is either heel is up or it's pivoted down. Sink your hip, extend your arms. See that your tailbone is descending downwards and your wrist is ascending upwards. Firm back leg. Push the shin into the calf. If you have tightness in the calf, it also affects the organ of the heart. Drop your hands on the seat. Come back into this restorative stretch. Now the left foot between the legs of the chair, beg your pardon. Back heel can be up or back heel can pivot down. Sink your hip, lengthen your spine, put some weight into your front leg, put some activation into your back leg. If your lower back is weak, only raise one arm. If your lower back is fine, raise both arms. Stay here a breath or two, lengthening upwards as you descend and stabilize downwards. Bring your hands to the edge of the chair, once again to that restorative length. Walk your right foot forward, walk your left foot forward, and come into this forward fold. You could also do the forward fold, holding your elbows and dropping your forehead down. You could also do the forward fold, stretching the hamstring with your knees bent. Come back to hands below the shoulders and come back to standing. Let's check how our spine feels now. Come back to the starting position of sitting down. So any of these small bursts, micro exercises that we did, you can repeat 2-3 times and finish with coming back to this posture of aligning the head, heart and spine, settling into the hip, hold the length, sit in your own strength. Observe the breath. See that the breath is effortless. There is no strain in the breathing. There are fewer breaths per minute. That means your breath has expanded. And if it hasn't expanded, it's all right. Just watch the breath and relax into it. Use the breath as a buffer for the mind to turn inwards. And enjoy sitting upright no matter what you are doing at work or relaxed. You can sit upright and yet be relaxed. Thank you for today.